622 here, Big 550 KTRS. Trey Harden is our political guru. Joins us on Tuesdays from ABC News. Good morning, Trey Harden.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Let's talk a little in the weeds first. Let's talk about the GOP primary and how they're sort of changing things around. What does all that mean? What are they doing?
I don't know if they're changing anything around. I mean, I think people are, probably giving too much relevance to this Tea Party label. That it was a label that was very important in 2010 and helped get a lot of Republicans elected. But we got to remember, Tea Party people are Republicans. It's not a political party. It's a movement. I would say that those that I would categorize as wing nuts, the ones on the fringe of the party that claim that the Tea Party is some type of party or movement, do so at their own peril, because I think they're on the outside looking in on some of these elections. We're electing the right Republicans for these races around the country. And remember too, we've talked about it. I think Republicans use the Tea Party label when it's convenient, depending on a certain issue. I think at the end of the day, Republicans are Republicans, whether they have the Tea Party label or they have an establishment label. And I think it's the whole Tea Party thing is probably being made a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Do these primaries in Georgia, Kentucky, and Idaho, what are the Tea Party chances in those primaries?
There's none. They don't have any chances, and and they've already had kind of a bad track record this election season, with the exception of a candidate that, claims to be Tea Party that won in Nebraska. That again, I've heard him in the past talk that sometimes he's, says things that I think are Tea Party-ish and sometimes that I think are, that are not. So, I wouldn't expect too many positive things out of these folks that put the Tea Party label next to their name. And going forward, I think you're going to see some good Republican candidates win today, and I think it's going to contribute greatly to the Republicans' chances in November for taking back the Senate.
Well, that's really the only way they can do it, is if the Tea Party sort of doesn't get in the way and gum up the works. I mean, just there was a time not too long ago, maybe even we'll see going forward. Doesn't matter what your resume said. If you called yourself a Tea Partier, you were getting votes, and it seemed like the world was off its axis there for a while.
Yeah, and there's a time and place for everything, and it worked. It was a movement. It was a campaign. It's not a political party. It's not an organized political party, and it's not a recognized political party. And I just think that, it's a label that continues to get thrown around by all of us, I guess, to a certain degree. But it's not an organized political party, and it was in a movement at a time that got a lot of people elected, and it was important, and it was great for the Republican side. But yeah, there's a lot of people that can't let go of it that I think are a disruption to the Republican Party and their chances in these elections.
Trey Harden, as a political analyst and a political guy who's been in the room and been in those back rooms, you have to tip your cap to Karl Rove calling out Hillary Clinton for possible brain damage. Do you not?
No, it was irresponsible, idiotic, reckless. First of all, let's say yes. The health records and the physicals that the candidates go through and the health records they provide, all of them do it who are running for office. They have to, and it's important. But that's one thing. That's the apple. The orange is something that Karl Rove said. So it's two very different things. And I just think it was inappropriate. It was reckless. It's a shame that he doesn't even regret saying what he said. But then again, I just don't know if Karl Rove has really been that relevant since getting George Bush reelected in 2004. He was good at getting the president elected twice. The Republican Party owes him some gratitude for that, but I just don't know where his relevance is right now.
That's a hard statement, Trey. I mean, the guy was the architect of the Bush election and re-election campaign. You don't think he's a standard bearer, or at least an important voice in the party?
No, you just repeated exactly what I said. That he was the architect of getting the president elected twice. That was 6 years ago, and I tip my cap to him for that. And I think a lot of people in the Republican Party owe him gratitude for that. That's what he's good at. What he's not good at is pretending he's a doctor or sitting up here in front of the TV camera and making comments like that, because all it does is hurt the party. I would also argue that I think he and Karen Hughes, when they first came to Washington with the president, didn't help the president that much be a good president. And what I mean by that, and a lot of presidential victories or winners have the same problem, and that is that they're good at getting the guy elected, but then they don't have a clue how to operate inside the Beltway or from a governing standpoint. And President Bush had that problem when he first got elected back in 2000. Barack Obama has had the same problem, and that I would attribute that to David Axelrod. David Axelrod may know how to get people elected, but he knows nothing about Washington, D.C., yet Barack Obama counted on him for a lot of counsel early on in his administration. So there's a big difference between a campaign consultant and someone that's going to be an aide to the president or the person governing in the White House. And, people need to know their strengths.
Trey, it was such a great rant. I didn't want to correct you, but there was one small minor flaw in that beautiful rant. President Bush was reelected in 2004. That's 10 years ago.
Oh, sorry, 10 years ago. Yes, 6 years ago.
Right.
I keep getting confused on the on these. 6 years ago for Obama's presidency. Yes, 10 years ago. You are correct.
Right.
So anyway, I think that proves my point even more.
Right.
He was Karl Rove was relevant 10 years ago, and I think not so much anymore.
It was still a beautiful rant, by the way. Just to let you know.
It was pretty nice.
Trey Harden, ABC News. Have a good week, Trey. Thanks for checking in.
You got it, guys. Take care.
628 here, Big 550, KTR.